everybody. We are here live on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday. You've got
wild.
Katie and Angie from First Interstate Bank.
Hello.
And Suzie from behind the camera. We are here to talk to you about all things that are not so scary.
About credit, getting a mortgage, all of that. That's why we wanted to bring, as Suzie said, Angie Lehto here from First Interstate Bank. We do a ton of loans with Angie. She's awesome. She's local.
Aww.
You guys are going to be, we mean it. Truly. Like if you guys meet with Angie, you're going to be meeting with her face to face, talking directly to who's dealing with your loan, your mortgage. Fabulous, fabulous. But what we wanted to talk with her about today, we've kind of talked about the stigma and the scariness of getting a mortgage.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be scary. And those things even that you think might be bad, I've missed a payment, I'm worried about my score, I'm not sure that I have too much debt, all those things may not be as bad as people think.
Right.
And they may still be able to qualify for a loan.
Right. So the biggest thing really is just to not be afraid of what's on your credit. Because until you know, you don't know.
Exactly. The unknown is scarier than knowing.
It's really helpful.
What you have.
When you know, you know.
Yes. And then we can fix it too. That's the thing. Even
That's
if
the
it's
big
not a good knowing,
Right.
we can fix what's bad.
And that's the big thing is just knowing what's on your credit. And you don't know what's on your credit until you see your credit report. Credit Karma is a big thing right now.
Yes.
And Credit Karma totally has its uses. They are fantastic to monitor your credit so you can see who's inquiring on your credit, things like that. The thing to know is they don't monitor all three bureaus. They monitor two. And a lot of times, collections, negative things like that only show up on 1 to 2 bureaus, which means there's a really good chance that it's getting missed and not showing up on Credit Karma. So what we recommend is either come see your lender and let's just see what's out there, or at a minimum, go to annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com, not the free one with the catchy song.
Of course.
Because annualcreditreport.com is the one that is set up by the bureaus. It's federally regulated, and you will get a full picture of your credit. Don't pay for your credit scores because just don't go there.
It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Right?
It's more what's in the report. So save yourself $9.99 or whatever per bureau and just see what's there. The biggest thing is the information. It's going to show you a full picture of everything that's out there so that you know what to do. And if there's something that needs disputed, there's something that needs paid, contact information's on there as well. Same thing that you're going to get from a bank. The difference is a bank is going to merge it all into one bureau or one report. It's going to be one little concise picture of everything. We get most of the contact information, but not all, because they can't really give us, like we can see things that are medical, but they don't say, oh, well, who's that through? Because that's against the law for them to disclose that to us. But at least know what's out there, because once you know what's on your credit, then you know, and then you know how to move forward. And it might be a lot less terrifying than you think. There may only be one late payment showing up.
And that's okay, right? There's still some loans you can qualify for, even with a late payment.
Yeah, the biggest thing is what's the reason for it. And so if you have some negative credit history showing up out there, the big thing the underwriters want to know is, okay, what happened and why is it not going to happen again? Were you in a vehicle accident and couldn't work and got medical collections and have caught up on them since then? That's a workable situation. Hey, I just didn't want to pay my mortgage bill for the last 6 months.
We spent too much at Christmas.
Right,
That's a
not
problem.
so much. Not so much a good
Yeah.
thing. Those are the ones we have issues with. But it really is just knowing what's out there. And once you know what's out there, we can look at that whole picture with you, really let you know based on getting all 3 of the credit bureaus, hey, this one's only reporting to TransUnion, so you maybe didn't see it when you pulled your Equifax stuff. Or this one's only reporting to 1 or 2. and it lets you be able to really take care of what's out there and what's affecting your credit.
And that's it, like we said, even some of it may not be horrible. You may
Right.
still qualify with a
Right.
late or things that you think aren't okay,
Right.
or they could be easy fixes.
Yes. Yep.
And you can help people with that, correct? You can
Yep.
tell them, this is what you need to pay off, this is how you need to take care of this.
Yep. Now the big disclaimer is we're not credit counselors. I mean, we're lenders, but we do see a lot of credit. And so we can look at it and we can tell you, hey, that $56 returned check that you don't want to pay on principal is really killing your credit.
Yes, even
And at
simple
some
things
point,
like that. Do you want to buy a house, or do
Right.
you want to prove
Do
that
you-
return check that they're $56?
Where
they
does your
don't
credit
get it?
have a limit?
Yeah.
And so it really is kind of just coming to those hard truths of, hey, I got to take care of my stuff, and it's from 10 years ago, and I've grown up, and I just have to pay it. Because that's another thing that people don't realize is a lot of people come in and they say, well, it drops off my credit in 7 years or 9 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they're smart. The collectors are smart. So what happens when they hit that age, a month before they drop, they
redo
sell
it.
it to someone else, or they re-report it with a slightly different account number.
That's a mother.
They're going
Smart.
to stay on there until they get paid.
Yep.
So are there certain things on your credit? Like what if you are, we did spend too much at Christmas and we missed our next 2 payments. Are there some things that hit your credit that are worse than others or harder to fix than others, or just take longer to fix than other things?
Late mortgage payments hurt. They hurt bad. The other thing that people kind of don't think about is it's not always just a late payment, but like if you go over your credit limit on a credit card, that's a killer. That will ding your credit score really bad.
I didn't even know you could go over your credit limit.
You
Uh-oh.
can.
Now Katie
over
knows.
here.
Now she knows.
You can't, Katie. It's not
See?
doable.
Truly, like I thought that's why you had a limit. Wouldn't they decline it or something?
Don't they cut
Look at
you
my
off?
naiveness here.
Well, what
They
happens
say
sometimes?
no.
So let's say you have, if you are right up against your credit limit, you have a $500 credit limit, and you are at 500, and then you miss a payment, and now you have a $35 late fee. Now you're at 535.
Oh, so it's not even necessarily the spending, it's just those little things. That makes sense.
Or, and this is one that will nail you, I put my credit card in the gas pump. It authorizes $1
Yeah.
because it just wants to make sure it's a valid open account.
Yep.
So then I go max my credit card out. I spend $4.99 plus this $1 at the pump.
Oh yeah.
But then when it posts, it's a
$50
whatever charge. Now you're over your credit limit.
That makes sense.
What a
That'd be
whammy.
easy. Yeah.
So I mean, a couple easy ways to avoid that is, well, number one, know what you've got, or just go in and have them pre-authorize a set dollar amount on your credit card or something like that, so that you know what's going to get charged to your credit card. The biggest thing is keeping track of it, and then really, ideally, what you're doing with your credit cards and what's going to have the most bang for your buck. Get a credit card that's got an okay limit, $500 to $1,000. 20%. Don't go over 20%. If you have a $1,000 card, keep it at about $200
So put
max.
gas and nothing else on it.
Go
monthly
get
or something
groceries.
Like that.
Go get a tank of gas. Pay it off at the end of the month. You don't pay interest if you pay it in full every month, which is nice. And that's building your credit.
Okay.
And so some easy ways to help bounce back.
And I have,
Nice.
Brooke just asked a question. I have the same question. A buyer called and I was trying to encourage her to go down and just see what your credit score actually is and then get some advice on the best ways to fix it. She didn't want to go because she didn't want finding out what her credit score was from the bank to hurt her credit. And Brooke just asked, if our buyers have you pull their credit, will it hurt their score? It's a good question.
That's a good question. So the bureaus are a little quirky. The credit bureaus kind of follow their own rules. If you're going to do a credit inquiry, a mortgage credit inquiry will have the least amount of effect on your scores. And to be honest, it's hard to say because I've seen it where there's been zero effect from when they've pulled their score here and here and here and no effect. And I've seen it where it's a 5 or 10 points. It's not going to be a huge effect. I mean, it's not going to drop your score 100 points to go and
Very minimal.
and go apply for a mortgage. The other thing to keep in mind is if you're shopping for a mortgage, you actually have a 2-week window to go and shop for a mortgage where it is really only supposed to affect it as one inquiry.
See, that's what I tell a lot of my buyers, that the 2 weeks is what I didn't know. I did tell them though that because of when we had all the horrible, scary loans, that they want buyers to shop.
They
for
want
loans.
to shop, and you want to make sure
And
that
that's
you're
what
getting
I've told a
fits
lot
you
of
best.
people is it's worth talking. And our area is smaller, and we may not have as many options, and you're all pretty close, but still,
Right.
it's worth looking around and knowing. Unlike a vehicle, if you go to 5 different banks, that's going to be 5 different hits. You can talk to different loan officers or different banks and get.
And a good
Without
case in
hurting
point, I
the score.
actually had a borrower come in Friday, and he had his credit pulled from a different bank, told me what the credit score was, and it had been over the 2 weeks. I mean, it was 3 or 4 weeks, and it was identical.
Wow,
I mean,
see?
absolutely identical
Different.
across the board. Didn't hurt him at all. So it's a
another
good
one
question, Brooke. You don't ever really 100% know.
But it's going to be a minimal hit.
It
It's
is.
worth knowing
It
what's
is.
on there and knowing how to fix
It is.
as opposed to just ignoring it and never finding out.
And the other thing too is if you do have somebody that's really, really nervous about that, annual credit report is a good option for them, because then again, you're not pulling the scores, but at least you're getting the information with 0 impact. So if you do have somebody that's kind of on the fence that needs to know what's out there, but doesn't really want to have that hard hit on their credit, that's a really, really good avenue for them to go so they can see everything that's out there.
And that's just a .com, and
Yep.
it's free once a year.
Once a year. Yeah,
Annualcreditreport.com. We'll be sure to post that in the
There's
comment
also a
section of this
telephone
one.
number, and you can do it by mail, and I don't have those memorized off the top of my
Who does
head.
mail?
Angie.
Mail?
People do
What?
mail.
What? Mail?
But that would be a really good option in that instance, and that's a for sure way to know that it's not going to have any impact.
Awesome.
Good. You're
Awesome.
full of fun
Credit's
tips,
quirky.
right?
Because they do. The bureaus, which is part of the issue they had, the bureaus kind of follow their own.
They do what
They
they
do
want to
what they
do.
want, and different inquiries have different impact, and you really honestly don't know what impact they're going to have until it's too late.
Right. And some
Yes,
credit
I'll-
cards do tell you every month on your statement
They do.
what your score is. What were your opinions on
How accurate those are.
some might be a little more accurate than others, maybe?
So what we've been told from the bureaus is that Discover is a good one. That Discover is pretty darn accurate. What you want to be careful of, and what you just want to know what you're getting, is when you sign up to get that, free monthly FICO is usually what they call it. Read how they do it. And so there's some places that will give you your monthly FICO score, and they are only basing that off of your credit history with them. So ABC Bank or whatever might give you a monthly credit or monthly FICO score, but it's only based on the history that you've had with ABC Bank, because that's all they have access to. And because they're not pulling a hard hit every month, which is good. They're not going out there just hitting your credit month after month after month. So they have to
Makes
come
so
up.
much sense.
They have to come up with
But
it
they don't necessarily
somehow.
know if you have another credit card or
Right.
vehicle loans or toy loans or mortgages or any of that.
People here don't have toy loans.
So I know, come on, come on.
So if you're paying your Discover card but foregoing all your others,
others, yeah,
It
for
might not be so
Discover.
accurate.
Discover
Might
will
be a
tell you
glor-
what we want to hear.
a glorified number from Discover.
But they do say that one's fairly accurate.
Good to
Yeah.
know.
Real quick, I want to hit before I forget something else. Not having credit isn't necessarily a bad
Right.
thing either. No
Right.
credit, I've heard, is better than bad credit.
It is.
And so what are our options there for someone who, say, maybe only has one loan or they just don't have much?
So we do have loan programs out there available that you can build an alternate credit report. And so if you have first-time home buyers, we run into it a lot, younger especially, that maybe have been on, mom or dad had the car loan in their name and they're just establishing credit. So maybe they have a couple credit cards, they have a car loan, but they don't have a 12-month history on those. Most of the loan programs want a 12-month history because we need to see how you are at repaying your debt. That's
Even
the whole
during
point.
Christmas time.
Even during Christmas, by golly.
You can pay those loans.
You're like, but I paid it off with my tax refund.
Yeah, I paid it off in February. It's
That's
fine.
excellent, but make your minimums
That's funny.
in the
That's
meantime. But that's something where we can actually look at building an alternate credit. Now, again, there's limited loan programs for it, and you have to meet their other guidelines like income, things like that. But it's better than a no. And so what you're looking for is if you know you don't have credit, and maybe you know you're in like the rural development realm of income. Make sure that you've got your alternate credit source. So have you been paying rent or utilities or cell phone or Hulu or Netflix?
Seriously.
Or something.
That's crazy.
Something you can
Hulu
track.
and Netflix, that's
Good
insane.
to know.
Yes.
And awesome though, but it makes sense. You're showing that you can repay a
Yes.
payment. Every month you can stay consistent.
We have used like PlayStation subscriptions and stuff like that.
Yep.
You have to be able to track it. That's the hard one.
Yeah,
You've got to be able to tie this account to this person. So it's kind of going on the website, fishing around, making sure you can do that and get a payment history. And it has to be a 12-month positive payment history. So if you've had late payments on it, don't even bring it.
Not
Because
worth it.
that's not going to help. But it's a good option.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
especially, like I said, we have a lot of first-time home buyers that don't have traditional credit.
Well, I think they think they're automatically out.
Right,
And then
and
they
you're
don't know
not.
how they're going to get it because maybe they did do good and they
Yep.
bought a cheap car that they
Yep.
were able to save
Right.
for, and they
Right.
don't have that, that they have options there.
And even non-first-time home buyers, because your credit, if you pay everything off,
yeah, which is awesome.
and then you don't have any credit because you pay cash with everything,
Yeah.
you may actually be just as stuck on, hey, we need this credit score, we need this credit history.
Yep.
Great, we can, like I said, with rural development, we can look at alternate credit sources.
Which is super cool. And another thing, it doesn't have to be scary. You just need to
No.
know.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
even if it's as simple as, so maybe they don't have enough of those. Couldn't you tell them maybe you need to have a credit card for this amount of time?
Yeah,
Or
and that's
there's
something,
options.
and we run into it where, and family cell phone plans kill us.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, oh, everything's in my car insurance is in my parents' name and my cell
Yeah.
phone's in my parents' name. And you know what?
That was me. I
said,
kept it in
all
my
of us have
parents
been
until
there.
I was out of college. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Why not? That's what we're for. is
Yeah. Yeah.
But the hard part there is if you don't have it, you don't have it. Let's plan forward. It may mean I don't get to go out and buy this super cute house that I found today.
Today, but even 6 months.
But
a year.
let's make a game plan. Hey, you've got this credit card, and you've got this car loan, and you've had this one for 8 months and this one for 6 months. We're not that far out.
Yep.
Let's give it the rest of the 6 months. Let's get some credit reputation built. Or, hey, I just have nothing. Okay, let's get you set up. Let's look at a game plan. Maybe you should consider getting a credit card that's got a small available balance that's not going to get you in trouble, because you don't want building credit to end up hurting you.
Yeah.
Because you get more than what you can handle.
Yep.
So keep those available balances small. Again, a tank of gas, something you're already budgeting for.
I remember truly that's how I started at 18. My parents
Yep.
made me. And it was only gas. I knew that strictly gas.
Yeah.
And it was maybe $100 a month.
Yeah.
But I knew I paid it off every month. That helped me tremendously.
And the thing is if you can't pay it off every month, it's still going to help. But when you start carrying a balance over month over month over month over month, you're not doing yourself a good service.
You're paying interest.
You're paying interest on it. Yes, it's building a credit history, but it's not showing a really
Good.
super responsible use of credit. So it's still building credit history, but it's going to take you longer.
Yep.
Instead of, you know, hey, we've got a credit history, but we haven't had anything for a while. And that's the other thing too, is some of those loan programs will look at closed accounts. So maybe you don't have an open vehicle loan, but you have one you just paid off 3 months ago and you paid on it for 2 years.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't
You
know
still
that
have a
either.
12-month payment history on that.
Okay. They could look back.
And
That's
they
good
can
to
still
know.
look back at that. So it's just finding the right combination
Good
of
to know.
stuff. Yep.
So our main
Stuff, that's
point,
very
stuff. There are options out there. It
There are.
doesn't need to be scary. You might be surprised. Like we said, even if your score isn't where you think, or maybe you have missed payments,
Right.
it doesn't mean you wouldn't qualify. There's so many different loan options.
There are.
Or even if you don't qualify today, that doesn't mean 30 days you wouldn't, or
Yeah.
6 months you wouldn't, or I don't even know how many houses, Susie, I'm not just excluding you, but Olivia and I, a year later, 2
Right.
years later, people come back and
Yeah.
say, okay, I got my stuff together, I'm ready to
Yeah.
buy a house.
Yeah, I mean, we've had
It's cool.
We've had people that we've worked with for 2 or 3 years
Yep.
trying to help them get their credit rebuilt or build credit or
Yep.
just get in a good position.
That's it. Pay things
Yeah,
off, or maybe their
right.
job changes, or
Yeah. And that's just it.
situations
Is
change.
it may be where you might even have the credit that works for it, but well, you're only going to be able to buy this much house. Where if you wait 6 more months until your vehicle's paid off, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be,
It could change
or
your entire
you know that you're
situation.
going to come off probation at a job and get an increase,
Yep.
something like that, just might be, put you in a better position. And yes, you might have to wait, but let's get you in a good position. Let's set you up to be successful as a homeowner. And it may not be today, but we will get there. It's just really making sure that you've got a good game plan.
And taking that first step.
Yeah, and
Talking
just
to
finding
you.
out what's
That's
out
all
there.
it is. Just
Yep.
meeting with you and
Yeah,
finding
just
out
seeing
what
what's
needs to
there.
happen.
That's exactly the folks that I've been trying to say. If you know your credit is terrible, don't just feel like you're alone and I
Right.
need to do this or this. Go actually talk to somebody that can
Yeah.
tell you. Some things might help you quicker than others,
Right.
like you had mentioned, whereas some things are not as big of a
Yeah,
deal
exactly.
breaker.
They can
So
even kind of let them know what's not you, or the right and wrong things.
Well,
to do.
and again, it's really just knowing what's out there. And if you really are one of those people that just don't want to go to a bank and apply and get a report, at least do yourself the service of doing the annual credit report.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna be checking mine out.
February is the month in our house.
Yeah, see,
Every
yeah.
February we pull credit.
little Valentine's present to you
Yeah.
all.
Right,
Look at our
like,
credit.
Should we
I
buy
love you.
Valentine's or pull credit?
Right?
What sounds more
I love
romantic?
you. Let's check your credit.
Let's check our credit.
But I will
That
tell
shows
you,
care,
I will
right?
tell you, last February we pulled my husband and I's credit, and we found fraud on his,
See?
which I'm glad we caught then because we did buy a house last fall, and that would have
It could have been an
several
issue.
months because it was actually showing up a credit card that he didn't have.
Yep.
That when we called the company, it was a thing. It was a thing. It was happening, and it was showing a late payment. So by the time we bought our house, 8 months later, he'd had 8 months worth of late payments showing up on top of this fraudulent account that then he waited 8 months to do anything about, which makes it that much harder. So
Prime, you might have missed out.
it's a
You don't know.
good example of
Yep.
make sure you know what's out there. And even if you think your credit's okay, you want to know.
Oh, yeah,
if
you would
it's
have
a
thought
good
yours
way
was
to catch
fine,
fraud.
yeah.
Yeah, because I would never
Well, how
have
many
thought
places
about
do
it.
we're all online? How many different websites? We're putting our
right.
info in everywhere.
Right.
It's just easy to do it. Everything's
Yep.
online these days.
And like I said, if nothing else, make sure nobody else is using your credit.
Yep.
Make sure there's nothing wonky out there with your credit.
Yep.
And actually, a really good piece of advice that the bureaus have put out there since the huge data breach last summer, which we were also a part of.
Yay for you, man! You
Yeah.
lucky ducks.
Nailed it all there. It was a good year.
Yay.
But something that they brought up that honestly, even being in loans for 11 years, I never would have thought to do, is if you have minor children, to
Yes,
put a
check.
freeze on their credit.
Smart.
Because
Ooh.
just because my daughter is 3 doesn't mean somebody is not out there using her social security number.
Yep.
Because again, everything's digital.
Yep.
Everything is digital. And so that was a really good piece of advice that they gave is, it never hurts. Put that freeze on there, and when they turn 16, go ahead and take it off.
Yep.
And who do you pick up the phone to freeze your children's credit?
So you can actually you would go to the bureaus directly. So
Okay.
either Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, and you can go online,
Of course you
like
can.
everything.
And enter their social security
Right.
number.
No, you can actually go online. You can get the contact information. It will tell you how to do the credit freezes and all that.
That's
If you have an
awesome.
account that
Good
you
to
need to
know.
dispute, you can do that with the annual credit report. It'll show you how to dispute things.
Very
So
interesting.
there's a lot of information out there. And again, that's something, even as a lender, I never would have
No.
in a million years
I've
thought
heard
to
of
freeze
people, but
my
I didn't
daughter's
realize you
credit.
could do that. I've heard of
Uh-huh.
people's children's credit getting
Right.
compromised.
Each year when we file
I
our
know.
tax return, my husband is a CPA and he'll say, somebody had so-and-so's social security
Yeah.
number and it was a minor child, but I guess I didn't know there were options
Yeah.
for making sure that didn't happen.
And that's
Very
another
smart
thing. I'm
to
glad you
know.
said that because that's something that when we pull credit, something that comes up on there are aliases. So when you go to a loan closing, and these guys have seen this form, there's the AKA form.
It always worries the buyers.
And they're all
who
like,
that is.
what? Oh my gosh. And so what the bank has to do is we have to disclose to you, these are all the names that came up on your credit report when we pulled your credit. Now, 9 times out of 10, it's somebody fat-fingered your name, or
your name is Mary Suzanne Koehn, and you've been called
Right.
Susie your whole life.
and
And
you
have
have Susie.
15 different cards in M Suzanne, M
Yes.
Susie, Susie M.
Yeah, but that it's something that really easy, especially when you do like the, hey, we're in the checkout line and do you want to do a credit card, and they type it in. It's easy to type a wrong letter.
Yep.
Super easy. So 9 times out of 10, those are the aliases we find, or married name, maiden name, divorced, that sort of thing. But occasionally, like Bob Smith or someone like that will show up on Susie's account or Katie's account, and it's like, hey,
That's concerning.
do you know who this
Were
is?
you ever Bob Smith in your life?
Were you ever Bob Smith? Were you? And sometimes it's a good example is siblings that have really similar social security numbers. We have seen where sister came in to get a loan and brother's name always shows up because they are 2 digits apart.
Oh, crazy.
And whoever just said the wrong number, mom or dad or whatever.
Yep.
So, she knows it's always on there. It's fine. It's legit. It's good. But then, who knows, this random name shows up and it may not be good, especially if all of a sudden there's accounts you don't know about and there's this name you don't know about, and hey, you need to contact the bureaus and find out what's going on with this. And when you call, they say, oh yeah, you have this card from, no I don't.
No, I don't.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, and it's 8 months late. So
Right,
you know.
good
Yeah.
job. I hope you didn't really want a house.
Yeah. Because you're
So,
not one.
but that's something else that we check for, are those aliases and things like that help fraud. They help prevent fraud that way. So even if you are on the fence because you maybe are a little embarrassed about what might be out there, do it. Just
Right.
bite the bullet and do it.
Right.
I mean,
And-
really, it's worth
And
it.
folks, look at Angie behind the camera. She is not a scary person.
Right? She's nice,
She's been so
truly.
sweet. She's not going to judge you. We
Like
know.
I said, you
I
get to talk to
know.
her. It's not
Right.
online. You're not trying to
Yeah.
send her stuff that you don't know what she's asking
Right.
for. You can take it in. She can weed through it. Say, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
need 90% of this.
Yeah, I don't care
or
about
bring
that
me
right now.
more. Or yes, true.
Well, and really, and I will tell you personal story. I have had a collection that I didn't know was there, and because of my line of work, I'm a little OCD about medical bills, and I'm one of those people that call every day, like, have you heard back from insurance? What do I owe you? What do I owe you? What do I owe you? And I had surgery, and had stalked to the anesthesiologist's office of, what do I owe? What do I owe? Nope, everything's good. Insurance took care of it. You don't owe anything. You're good. And I got a call. And I'm one of those that I see a number on my cell phone, I Google it real quick before I answer. And I saw that it was the collection center out of Rollins. I answered, and they had turned me into collections for an unpaid bill that the bill got sent to an address I hadn't lived at for 9 years.
Oh,
and you didn't even know. You tried.
Had
you
no
called.
idea.
Yep. That's
So
simple.
you know
it's
what?
Not even.
If I had
Yeah.
not answered the phone, though, they
Yeah.
only try so many times.
Yep.
And then they just nail you.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things where, I mean, really, most of us have had a collection issue at one point or another, and 9 times out of 10, it's something as simple as that. It went to the wrong address. So great, let's tackle it, let's fix it, and move on.
Like you said, not worth being embarrassed about,
Right,
scared
yeah.
about, or
Yeah.
anything.
Credit
I'd
is-
rather fix it.
Credit's
Right.
a tricky thing.
And-
And you know what? It happens to most people at least
Yep.
once in their life.
right. And even if it's not an accident and you really couldn't pay the medical
Right.
bill, you
Yeah.
can work through that too.
Yep.
Yep.
And the thing is a lot of the collection places will settle. They want to work with you. They just want their money. They want to collect as much
They
as
want
they
some
can.
money. Yeah.
And there's times where, just try to work with them. The worst case scenario, they say, no, you owe us the full amount. Okay, I can't pay you right now.
but at least you know you tried.
But at least you know what they're going to accept. You know what you need to save. At least you know.
Yep.
Because you don't know until you know.
Yep.
All right. Good
Well, thank you
stuff.
so much, Angie. Super informative. Like I said, we'll be sure to post in the comments, the annualcreditreport.com. Any other questions you guys have, let us know. Once again, Angie Lehto with First Interstate Bank. You can visit her. You can ask us for her info. We can get you her email number. anything at all you guys need.
And then we can go online and do fun stuff.
Right? And then we can go farther. Yay! Thank you so much, Angie. Truly, this
Yeah,
was
thanks, guys.
awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yes, but credit's not scary.
Yay, credit's
It's
not scary.
overwhelming sometimes, but it's not
And that's
scary.
why you have Angie in your life to make it easier.
Right.
Truly, look how
It's
awesome
what I
she
do.
made all of that.
So feel free to
She's
give us a
good.
call with any questions, but not for the next 15 minutes because we will all be pulling our credit scores here.
Yes,
Except
we're
for
going
Angie.
to annualcreditreport.com.
I don't pull mine until
Yeah,
February, so I'm
but
good.
that's when it gets exciting there. Well, thank you so much,
Thanks,
Angie.
guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.